All right, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's going on, everybody? We are here live for the Boxing Source Midweek Report. You see that above there. It's the Boxing Source Midweek Report here for Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Big ups for everyone that's listening live here, and also shout out to those that'll be watching the replay and everything here. We got here on the live chat checking in early here. Brother Tommy is in the building here through Just Boxing Talk and whatnot here. We're going to be talking about a lot of things here with the Boxing Source Midweek Report. You know, we have a lot of action that's coming to y'all here coming up on April 12th. You know, we would have had 4 fight cards. Yeah, 4 fight cards, you know, going on April 12th, but it's going to be 3 of them. It's going to be 3 of them because of, you know, recent news, you know, that happened here, you know, earlier this week. Okay. So there's 3 fight cards. Okay. Now check it. You know, we got, of course, what's happening in Atlantic City. And then, you know, up the road, at least from, you know, where I'm at, you know, we got a No Excuse Promotions fight card that's coming up here. That'll be on ProBox TV. So, you know, we got a number of things here that we're going to be getting ready to talk about here in this one. But, you know, I wanted to get to, you know, the nitty and the gritty here when it comes to the unification bout that's going on at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It is a matchroom boxing card headlined by the WBA, IBF, and Ring Magazine welterweight championship. 2 undefeated fighters. As you got Jaron Boots-Stanionis putting his IBF welterweight title on the line, Eimantas Stanionis putting his WBA welterweight title on the line. You know, like I said, both undefeated. Jaron Ennis at 33-0, and Eimantas Stanionis at 15-0. Okay, now I got to hit up this thing here with the boxing odds, of course, because you know I hit up the odds when it comes to, you know, these you know, well-known fights, or these highly profile fights that are coming up here, you know, for the weekend, right? So, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and hit it up. I'm gonna see, you know, what the odds is looking like here for this particular bout. It's gonna be something because we got what I got it at. All right, so through the DraftKings, they got Jaron Boots-Stanionis at minus 600, 6-1. It's looking like 6-1 there for Jaron Ennis. And you got Eimantas Stanionis at plus 425. Yeah, plus 425. Hold on, man. I ain't placing no bets. Oh, my bad. Yeah. So that is the, you know, the money line here. And geez, like, ooh, like on the thing here for DraftKings, it's looking for the money line that 95% of the bets placed are towards Boots-Stanionis for this fight. That's only 5%, man. Only 5% of bets there for Eimantas Stanionis. But let's go to the tail of the tape here for this one, right? All right, first, we're going to have, you know, the quote-unquote home guy, so to speak, since it's under Matchroom Boxing, and it is, you know, there in Atlantic City, just a little bit of a drive from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and that is where Jaron Boots-Stanionis is from. He is there, as I mentioned, there 33-0 with 29 of those wins by way of knockout. They're at 27 years old, height at 5'10" with a reach of 74. All right. So you got that on one side, and then you got Eimantas Stanionis there at 15-0 with 9 of those wins by way of knockout. 30 years old at 5'8" with a reach of 68. Okay. Now, you had a couple of good bouts here, you know what I mean? When he had the fight against Raza Batayev over at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, back in 2022. Y'all was there for that fight. That was like one of those, you know, sit in your couch. If you was at home, sit in your couch, get some nachos or get some popcorn and get a soda and just watch 2 fighters duke it out in close quarters. That's what that fight between Eimantas Stanionis and Raza Batayev was. But I was there at AT&T Stadium, and, you know, this was, you know, leading into the whole joint with the pay-per-view card. And I was the, you know, with some nachos, you know, and a Pepsi, you know, with nachos had cheese dipped and some chili on it. And I was just sitting there chilling, you know, watching the fight and watching them go at it, man. It was awesome, man. It was great. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. Yo, shout out my guy Dre in the building also, man. What's going on with you? Salute to you. Like I said, we got a whole lot of boxing talk here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I had the whole thing there with the tail of the tape. You have Jaron Boots-Stanionis there at 5'10", as I mentioned, would have reached a 74. And hey, but Stanionis at 5'8" would have reached a 68. It's going to be some work. You probably seen like the whole thing with the previews or the lead ups to this particular bout taking place, and you seen that they had the face off over at Boardwalk Hall, and you see that Jaron Ennis is just looking like almost like a at least a super welterweight. They're going up against the middleweight, so it's going to take some work here for Eimantas Stanionis. I think his craftiness, his level of craftiness, can get him a little bit of success, but he cannot stay in the pocket too long against a Boots-Stanionis who is a faster fighter than he is. That's the thing. Some people saying like, with Stanionis, he has a real sturdy build, but he may not be able to take that many shots from Boots-Stanionis. Now he's been doing that work over in Wild Card Gym. Had an article about it. With him doing that work at Wild Card Gym, he had his stint that is away from his home country in Lithuania. Yes, if you watch that special there on Matchroom Boxing, you see that his fiance. I don't think it's his wife yet. I think it's fiance. They're pregnant. They're in is nearly due. For the first kid, I think it is. So he's out, trying to see if he could be a unified welterweight champion while his fiance is about to have a baby. So it's going to be something, for him to he's going to be extra motivated to see if he could go ahead and get this win over Boots-Stanionis, like I said, in Atlantic City here. Now, Boots-Stanionis has been in Atlantic City before. He had his win over Werman Villa in the ballroom of Boardwalk Hall. Not the big venue, but it was a small little ballroom there in 2023, when he had the IBF interim welterweight title. But then, of course, he was elevated to full champion after, Terrence Crawford moved up to 154. So, Boots-Stanionis had his two defenses of that IBF welterweight title last year. First against David Evansian, getting to stop his victory there. And then the next one there against Karen Chikazian, he scored a knockdown, but, did have a few issues there with Chikazian in the latter part of the fight. Now, it ended up being a wide decision win for him once again, but, he still, had some instances where he kind of looked for a couple things too much instead of trying to be more free flowing there against, a mover in Karen Chikazian, and a guy that, really had made some good moves in that one. And, with Chikazian, he's there actually around or close to the height of Boots-Stanionis. And as I mentioned before with Eimantas Stanionis, he is not looking, anywhere close to the height of Boots-Stanionis. I know it says like listed at 5'10", but you could say that Boots is around more like 5'11" or something. You feel me? You know what I mean? Man, I'm gonna be previewing that No Excuse Promotions fight card this weekend too. So I'm gonna be talking about that as well. Like I said, it's gonna be on ProBox TV. All right. So I'm gonna be talking about that here later on down the line. But wanted to get back at it, you feel me? With this bout between Boots-Stanionis and Eimantas Stanionis, right? Now I was mentioning that, I was at the fight there for Stanionis and Butayev in 2022. I was also at his bout that he had against Gabriel Maestre in Las Vegas in 2024. Now, of course, that was an extended layoff for, Eimantas Stanionis, because for the majority of like 2023, he was back and forth of seeing if he could secure a bout with Virgil Ortiz Jr. But he had some issues. Virgil Ortiz had some issues. And then ultimately, with Virgil Ortiz, he ended up moving up to 154. So that put Eimantas Stanionis on the shelf for all of 2023. And then him being able to secure this bout against Gabriel Maestre was like his first bout. That was for about 2 years. Okay. Now, with that, he still was able to, acquire the interim title or whatnot there for the WBA. Then he was elevated to full champion. But since that bout against Gabriel Maestre, as I mentioned with Boots-Stanionis, he's had two bouts there, since then. Okay. And I think that is a key thing for fighters when you have these extended layoffs. You're not necessarily fresh as far as like in ring things, as far as like doing things in the ring and being comfortable while being in the ring, So it's almost like you got to do a whole reset, even though you might be in the gym or you might be staying around the gym a lot. You still have a good amount of time that you have to get yourself familiar with your mannerisms, your movements, and that type of thing. You know what I mean? Tommy says Stanionis is firing a 9mm. Boots out here with a 357. He just has more firepower along with the size and reach. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Stanionis, he's a pretty good combination puncher, but he has to pretty much work within range. And we mentioned in like previous shows that yes, Stanionis has a good jab, but the thing with me is he has to be able to get within range, at least here with his opponent and Jaron Ennis, in order to properly land that jab, or he would have to strategically move to get in and out of the range and pop in and pop out against Boots-Stanionis in order to properly land the jab and then get to the inside and see if he could move or step out before Boots-Stanionis throws something back. So that's the thing that Stanionis would have to work on early in this bout, is that he would have to be able to figure out how he could get within range to throw the jab that he has, because he has a good jab. He has a good, jab there with the left, but he has to be able to get within range. And the thing is, whether Boots-Stanionis is at orthodox or he's at southpaw, if Stanionis isn't able to get to the part where he could reach Boots-Stanionis with the jab, and Ennis could pretty much like either throw that right, throw the right jab, or switch the stance and throw the left jab and be in range, Stanionis is going to have issues there from the jump, So I feel like, ever since this thing was announced, I feel like it was more of a style issue. Styles make fights, as they say. And that with Stanionis, I think with his, kind of like movement as far as like getting within range, that he'll have issues with a guy that's going to be much taller and have the range that Boots-Stanionis has. I think on the inside, he's going to be able to try to work as hard as possible. He's always been in shape, so it's not like something where he's going to be really, having an issue as far as like taking a number of shots there from the inside or something like that. It's just going to be more of a speed thing. Therefore, Stanionis that he's going to have to deal with against Boots-Stanionis. Now, on one side, we talked about this on the other show here, of course, with Real Boxing with Ronnie Shields yesterday on the World Week channel. That we posed something in reference to Boots-Stanionis, and if he has much time left trying to make 147, and that he would I think that would be more of the issue for him, is him trying to get down to 147, and more so than trying to work towards strategies and being able to do things in and out of the ring for the fight against Stanionis. But seeing what has been going on so far, the workouts that have happened here at this particular point, looks like Boots is definitely ready for this bout here against Eimantas Stanionis. I got Giorgio in the building here live. Says he's excited for it. It's Stanionis a dog. Yeah, Boots is either going to have to outbox him or outdog him with the signature Boots flash. Yeah, you may see something here where it's a little bit of a mixture of his performance that he had the last time he was in Atlantic City, or pretty much in that building there against Roman Villa, and like how he performed to a certain extent against David Evasion. I think it's going to be a mixture of that. The only thing with, like I said, with Stanionis is he has just better movement, just a little bit better movement when it comes to getting to the inside. It's just that he won't have that, like I said, that reach disadvantage is going to be huge for him. It's going to be really huge for him here in this bout against Jaron Boots-Stanionis. And, I think that's pretty much what, a number of the people that have put in their money, I guess, towards the thing on DraftKings, like I mentioned there, as I said, on the money line, 95% of the bets placed on the money line are going towards Boots-Stanionis. So that tells you, how wide it is as far as like the odds, so to speak. And it was even more than that. As I said, it was like a minus 600 there for Boots-Stanionis, but it was even more than that. You know what I mean? Shoot, man. Hey, this thing here for FanDuel, they got more fights on there too. So if you want to, get on to a little bit more action, man, you probably might have to jump on the FanDuel joint. But they got Jaron Ennis there at, let's see, minus 650, and Eimantas Stanionis at plus 430. Method of victory, they got Ennis at plus 105 for a points or decision, and Boots for TKO plus 135. Eimantas Stanionis by points at plus 650, and Stanionis by knockout at plus 1,000. Yo, that man, yeah, they definitely certainly leaning towards Boots-Stanionis here. And now I ain't even gonna do the thing for the round. That's wild there, man. Man. So yeah, that shows you, how much they're leaning towards Boots-Stanionis in this particular fight. As I mentioned before, I mean, I felt like it's more of a style issue, one, and then the whole thing with the frequency of fighting, two, is going to be the two major factors here in this bout, because with Stanionis, he's only had those two bouts since 2022, since April of 2022. Since then, you had the thing there with Boots-Stanionis, who's had the bout against Castile Clayton, the first bout against Karen Chikazian, the bout against Roman Villa, David Evansian, and Karen Chikazian again. So that's 5 in comparison to 2 for Eimantas Stanionis. And I think that it's going to be a huge factor as far as having the level of comfortability that Boots may have here after the first 3 rounds or so, where he could be able to, utilize his range. He'll be able to shift forward, shift backward, move off to the side. There also that, I think it's going to eventually overwhelm Eimantas Stanionis in this one. Now, am I going to lean towards Boots for the knockout? I should give Stanionis more credit than that. And I think that the thing with Stanionis or the thing with Boots, though, is that a number of people are going off of that second bout that he had against Karen Chikazian and saying that, maybe that Stanionis is a level above Karen Chikazian, and so that it would make this a much closer fight. Well, Stanionis is higher rated than Karen Chikazian, but his style is different than Karen Chikazian. I think that what Chikazian had is just something that, as they say, some styles you just can't necessarily get used to. I mean, you've had, the top fighters that have been in the game, have their, level of kryptonite, whether it's Sugar Ray Robinson or Muhammad Ali or, Mike Tyson or something, you know what I mean? Outside of Floyd Mayweather, I ain't had no kryptonite. I was a kryptonite. No, whatever it is, I forget all that. But a lot of the fighters, there had pretty much a fighter that just had the style that was just all bad for him. And I could go even further. Antonio Tarver to Roy Jones, or, Vernon Forrest to Shane Mosley, you know what I mean? Or, I don't know, maybe a Rinky Wright there or Shane Mosley, so it kind of like is the thing there with Chikazian. I just felt like the style of Chikazian just gives someone like Boots-Stanionis a number of problems. But outside of him, I really don't see many other fighters there, at least here in the welterweight division, that will be able to pose, that much of a issue there for Boots-Stanionis, and that includes Eimantas Stanionis there. So that being said, that's how I have it. I have Boots-Stanionis as a favorite. That's what I'm picking here for this bout, for him to become the unified welterweight champion. Pretty much stamp his name as the top welterweight in the division, and that would be, of course, his biggest win here so far in the welterweight division. So definitely looking forward to all of that as far as like that thing going on with the main event. They have they're in the co-feature bout Raymond Ford, who's going to be going up against Thomas Matisse. There, of course, Raymond Ford is a little bit of a drive, from Atlantic City himself, hailing from Camden, New Jersey. I was at his last bout, or saw his last bout against Orlando Gonzalez. There, that was last November. Part of that Boots card that happened. You know what I mean? And he pretty much had almost a clean sweep there over Orlando Gonzalez. And he nearly scored a stoppage victory there against Orlando Gonzalez, but didn't quite get that. So he went that full 10 rounds there against Gonzalez. But of course, before that, he had that split decision loss to Nick Ball, and that was coming off of his last, pretty much his last second TKO win over Odubek Komatov. So he's been up there as far as like what he's done at 126. Now competing at the 130-pound division, he's around there at close to the top there at 130. Now he could be potentially a candidate to fight for whether it's going to be the regular title or they're going to have a full title or whatnot there for the WBA, because I mean you know who the current champion for the WBA is at super featherweight, and he's gonna be preoccupied, so to speak, there. So with that being said, there's an interim champion, but also Raymond Ford is there within the top 5 in the WBA rankings. So here he got this upcoming bout here against Thomas Matisse. I was going to see if they had Matisse rated up here in the rankings, but nope, not I guess not with a record of 22-4-1 there for Matisse. And of course, with Matisse, he lost his bout to Rocky Hernandez there, but you pretty much, like, some people saw that fight. That was a pretty interesting fight there. You had to see what's going to happen, after those 6 rounds or whatnot, because it looked like, to me, at least from what I recall, looked like he was, trying to get himself back in the fight and get it, back even. But hey, it's over in Mexico. So, and hey, Rocky Hernandez, if y'all know, that's the same Rocky Hernandez that fought Oshaki Foster over there in Mexico. And y'all know what they tried to do to Oshaki Foster in Mexico. You feel me? So yeah, I mean, well, for Raymond Ford, I think it's just this could be another bout for him to try to get closer to a world title shot. So we'll have to see that. What it says, Gorgio says, I wouldn't be surprised if Matchroom sets up Nunez versus Ford for the IBF, assuming Nunez wins the belt later this year. Hey, we'll see. I have to see what they had as far as like the mix there for Nunez. Is it so that we could see if he's out there to properly compete for it? I mean, he's there at number 1 in the IBF, and currently that thing is vacant, right? So unless if they have Nunez versus Rikishi for the vacant belt, Raymond Ford is there at number 6. So they could, go down the line and, hey, maybe, Eddie Hearn could make some phone calls and say, hey, let's see if we can set this up, for that to, go ahead and take place. You know what I mean? Unless, like I said, they might, if they got that thing there with Nunez, if they had scheduled him to, go ahead and go for that IBF belt here pretty soon. I got to go ahead and check it. Hold on. I'll check that thing here with Nunez if we when that bout is going to be, if they scheduled it already. But they're with Raymond Ford, right? He got he's going up against Rikishi on May 28th. That's going to be over in Japan. Hey, that might be it. That might be a really good fight right there. May 28th. Yeah, that'll be something there. So I'll see about that fight. Of course, they're gonna have Yeah, it's Ohashi Promotions, so you know that's gonna be a good fight card right there. I don't know if somebody's gonna pick it up though. Who? Hey man, they need. I don't know, man. They need somebody to pick that pick that fight card up there real quick. You know what I'm saying? Because that looks like a good card, or at least a couple fights there that they got on there. It's gonna be really good. So we'll see how they figure that one out. But back to the thing here with Raymond Ford. You know, like I said, I mean, he might be able to get into a better position there in the IBF, but also be on the lookout for him with the WBA, as you know, he has the WBA, what is that, the Continental North America title there for the WBA, right? Says Z Pacino, shout out to Z Pacino in the building. He said the hit list is Matisse, Nunez, and Foster. You know what? The thing with O'Shaquie Foster, right? Listen, man, I've been trying to get in contact with O'Shaquie Foster, since probably early 2024, and hadn't secured one interview there with O'Shaquie Foster. You know, the only time I've been speaking with him was when he had the thing there before his first fight against what it was, the Foster versus Conceição, right? Ever since then, I ain't been able to talk with him. I've been trying to get at his manager multiple times. Still nothing. Man, I'm telling you, man, it's like, hey, he'll post on Twitter. But as far as like talking to the people, I don't know, man. I don't know. I might have to, go through other means to try to see if I can get in contact with O'Shaquie Foster. But hey, a fight between Ray Ford and O'Shaquie Foster, hey, why not? Because from what I was told, from some time back, I don't see Foster getting in the mix there with the thing with Top Rank. It looked like they signed him for a few fights. We had the thing there, of course, the fights with Conceição. You had like one other fight there before that, and that's pretty much it. I thought that, they would try to make Foster there against Emmanuel Navarrete, but nope. And we see Navarrete is in the mix to fight on May 10th. So if you got Navarrete fighting in May, and then Foster may have something completely different going on, then hey, I guess that's pretty much it on that front. The only thing is, Foster has kind of been rumored to be potentially in the mix to face Cool Boy Stephen Fulton. So you could have Stephen Fulton there as a WBC featherweight champion moving up to face the WBC super featherweight champion in O'Shaquie Foster. Now, the other thing was they could probably set that up for June 21st. Maybe June 21st, could be later on, maybe July. But, thing with TGB Promotions, they got something locked in, at least at the T-Mobile Arena for now, for June 21st. And, well, a lot of y'all know what that may be about. So that could be what's going to happen there with O'Shaquie Foster. But, like I said, on the meantime, there with Raymond Ford going up here against Thomas Matisse, I think this is going to be something there where it could be a little bit of a feature bout here for Raymond Ford. We got him, they're going up against Matisse, who's at 34 years old at 5'9". 5'9". Ooh, 5'9". Well, but hey, Ray Ford's there at 5'7". But he's at 26 years old with a reach of 69 and what I said, 5'9", and with a reach of 73 there for Thomas Matisse. I mean, you got to be able to take advantage of that height and reach advantage there. But oh my goodness, if you see the odds on FanDuel, they got Raymond Ford at minus 1,300. Come on, yo, minus 1,300. And Matisse at plus 710. Jeez, come on, y'all. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Man, I don't know what DraftKings is talking about, because yeah, that's those odds is wait, ooh, it's even worse. They got him at minus 1,400. Raymond Ford, yo. Well, hey, yeah, okay. I don't know, man. Looks like this is a feature about here for Raymond Ford, because if you got Raymond Ford at minus 1,400, like goodness gracious, that's insane odds right there, man. That is insane odds. So hey, I guess Raymond Ford. You got Raymond Ford on there for the win. Also, on this fight card, you're gonna have Sakram Giasov going up against Franco Ocampo. Now, the reason why I mention this is because with Sakram Giasov, he's not only a matchroom fighter, but he is the #1 contender for the WBA title. Okay, so pretty much had that deal for Boots and Eimantas Stanionis to fight. They had to, go ahead and give us all some money in order for him to step aside and wait it out. So that's what happened right here. Okay, so he's gonna have the fight. He's gonna get paid for this fight, and he get paid step aside money. So it's a win-win for Sakram Giasov. Now, as far as like him versus Ocampo, I've seen Giasov fight. If you see Giasov's last fight, that's one. And if you see this fight before that against Pablo Cesar Cano, you know what? I'm good. I'm good on Sakram Giasov, okay? I'm good on Sakram Giasov. All right. You're also going to have in the super bantamweight division, Arturo Popoca versus Christian Cardo. There for the Continental Americas title there for the WBC, a whole bunch of, Continental Americas type stuff. You're also going to have Tamir Smalls on the card. Omari Jones will have his second pro fight on the card. Of course, his first bout was in his hometown there, Orlando, at the Caribe Royale Resort, March 15th. There was able to get, easy work, easy win. And then you're going to have Zakeem Moses there with his third professional fight going up against Alex Paulette. So that is, mainly the whole thing with the fight card there for matchroom boxing over in Atlantic City. So you got that question here. So Boots will fight him next if he wins. I don't know. I don't know about all that. This might be a situation like how you had, who was it? Elador Alvarez, right? Elador Alvarez for a long time was a mandatory challenger to the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship. The WBC Light Heavyweight Champion at the time was your guy that was in the same promotional company there in Adonis Stevenson. So while Adonis Stevenson was having his WBC belt and defending the WBC belt and potentially, having a fight with Sergey Kovalev, which never happened, you had Elador Alvarez kept getting step aside money. And he got that up to the point where Elador Alvarez was put in a position to fight Sergey Kovalev at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City. That was a fight. And you seen what happened in that one. Elador Alvarez ended up getting that knockout win. That was a fight. You know what I mean? So in the long run, it paid off for, the promotional company there. They could have did a unification. They never really did. But, the thing is, with Stevenson, what happened with Adonis Stevenson at that time. So, yeah. Wait, hold up. Shout out to Eric Harris there. Says, seeing Giasov fight multiple times, and I'm surprised he's ranked this highly. Someone like Kieran Shikaze would beat Giasov handedly. Yeah. Shikaze would definitely beat Giasov. He would, it would be like 10-2, 11-1 if it, you know what I mean? What? I don't know, man. I have no idea, Eric. I don't know, man. I don't know. You seen I guess you seen the latest joint, I guess. I mean, maybe he did or something. I don't know. Because I ain't seen it. I ain't seen it yet. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's the whole thing there with that fight card. Like I said, a number of undefeated fighters are going to be featured on this card. There with Zakeem Moses, Francisco Rodriguez, Omari Jones, Tamir Smalls there. And, of course, what I said there with Giasov, Taro Popoka against Christian Cardo. That might be a really good bout there in the super bantamweight division, so to speak. So that is, what to look for there in that fight card. Coming up, the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, there in New Jersey, will be shown live on DAZN, right? So you got that fight card that's on one side, and then here over, in the DMV area, where I'm kind of like located, it's pretty much like at the Maryland Live Casino, off of BW Parkway. If y'all know about the BW Parkway and how the traffic could be there during the weekdays, absolutely stupid. All right, so you got the ProBox card there. No Excuse Promotions via ProBox. This will be like their third fight card that will be under ProBox. Of course, they had the fights there where you had Lamont Rose Jr. that defended his WBA title in DC, right? He was able to have that defense there in DC against Fergal McCrory. So that was on the ProBox card, right? And then you had a ProBox Contender Series that was at Rosecroft Raceway, and that was in last October. Now we got another Contender Series here where you got to see a number of fighters here from the area that will be featured on the card, headlined by Short Dog Jordan White against Jose Matias Ribeiro with Short Dog. He's climbing up the ranks there in his division. He's getting pretty close there in the super featherweight division. I have to check because I know that I've seen Jordan White ranked in a couple of sanctioning bodies here, but I'll check that here for sure in just a second. But he's had a number of the fights that have been here in this area, so he's kind of built himself a crowd around here in this area. Actually, his last 3 fights were at that Entertainment and Sports Arena in DC. He had that knockout win over Erickson Garcia in Pennsylvania back in 2023. That kind of put him there within the rankings in the super featherweight division. So he's trying to get himself in a position to get closer to a world title shot. I gotta see. Yeah, I'm checking right now to see if I could see, because I know I've seen him. They got him looks like number 12 in the WBC right now. Number 12 in the WBC. So you have this fight here coming up. Of course, he's there at 18 wins and 1 loss with 12 wins by way of knockout. He's there at 27 years old at 5'7" with a reach at 70, right? And he's going up against Jose Matias Romero, who's there at 28 at a record of 29 wins and 3 losses at 5'8" with a reach of 70. So, hey, they're pretty much around the same height. And this could be a pretty good one. You have, of course, Jose Romero that's been fairly experienced. He has a win over Rene Tejas Garon. Some of y'all may be familiar with that name. Tejas had fought Floyd Schofield Jr., last year. He also fought Robisi Ramirez, got stopped, fought Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and also Michelle Rivera there in his pro career so far. So this is going to be a good test here for Short Dog White. You know what I mean? He says, Karen, it's not that good. Hey, listen. All right. Come on. Hey, Desmond, come on, man. Come on, man. I would set it up. Listen, y'all lucky I can't even be out there in Atlantic City. I'll be like, Giasov gets through that bout. I say set it up. Giasov versus Karen Chikazian. Set it up, okay? I'm picking Chikazian. I'm sorry. I'm picking Chikazian to get that win. Come on, y'all. Come on, man. Come on. Giasov. Oh, Come on. Nah. I'm not picking yourself over Karen Chikazi. That's not gonna happen. No. All right. So back here with this right here with Short Dog White. He is, of course, from the DC area, so you got to have a few of his supporters here for this particular bout, and also, he's, like I said, he's getting up there in the WBC rankings, right? As well, the NABF title isn't going to be on the line here for this one, but he's still gonna, see about getting moved up in the rankings here within the, at least the WBC or something like that. I would have thought that the WBC would have recently updated their rankings, but I have not seen them updated quite yet. So that's why you have Jordan White currently there. What is it like I said, rated at number 10 or something like that. So if he gets this win, then we'll see him kind of like get a little bit higher up. Number 12 there. They still have him as an NABF champion, but we got to see if he'll get further up in the rankings there for the WBC here later on down the line. You know what I mean? So you got that as a headlining bout. You got a heavyweight bout. There's a co-feature in Stephen Shaw versus Rafael Akpajori, and Stephen Shaw being there as a co-feature there with a record of 20 wins and just 2 losses to Efe Ajagba and Joseph Goodall. And after that, he got 2 TKO victories here. So he's there, of course, at 6'4" with a reach of 81. Coming from St. Louis, Missouri, and Rafael Akpajori is there coming from Nigeria at 6'8". So yeah, that's gonna be something right there. I didn't check the thing there for the odds for that particular bout between Jordan White and Jose Matias Romero, and they got Jordan White at -600 on FanDuel, and Jose Matias Romero at +360. I think that is that isn't the only fight on there. All right, bet. They got a few fights on that ProBox card that's on for FanDuel as well. So if you want a little bit of action, you know what I mean? We got some action there on FanDuel. Yeah, Big Dre here says shout out to my guy Short Dog. So yeah, you're gonna have Short Dog, Jordan White there headlining at Maryland Live in Hanover, Maryland. So you'll definitely want to go ahead and check that out. Tickets are available at AXS.com. That's right, at AXS.com, right? Plug right there. But like I said, you got Jordan White at -600. So he's pretty sizable favorite, there for that particular bout. But that's the only thing they got there on it so far. It's just a money line on that one. For Stephen Shaw, they have him at +380. So yeah, +380, and Rafael Akpajori at +260. So yeah, so we definitely got that thing there for that, right? We're in the house for the fight. You don't have to. I'm gonna have to reach out to you there, Dre. Here after the midweek report, I'm gonna see if I can reach out to you on a thing there for the upcoming show. All right. So, but yeah, that is the headliner and the co-feature. You're also going to have William Foster III that's going up against Brandon Benitez on there. If you caught the DMV Boxing Network show on a couple weeks ago, we not only had Lamont Roach Sr., we also had William Foster III on, to talk about his upcoming bout against Brandon Benitez. And he got himself back in the winning column against Jason Velez on last November after losing to Erison Garcia at the Prudential Center last July. So he's trying to get himself right back at it, right back in the mix here within that the super featherweight division around that range. So here he has this really key bout here against Brandon Benitez. I mean, Brandon Benitez is there at 21 wins and 3 losses. Hailing from Mexico. Had his last bout against Robeisy Ramirez, where, he got, pretty much kind of like tagged up there against, Ramirez there. But He still, has a little bit of, could have a little bit of pop behind him, depending on who he's there up against. But, there with Benitez, like I said, he's faced guys that have been former world champions and whatnot too. So it's another one where, you have a guy that has a lot of ring experience with some notable fighters, but William Foster, we said that he's going to be there ready in a gear for this upcoming bout. That'll be at Maryland Live. So that one there, what I check for the odds on that? Minus 450 for William Foster, and Brandon Benitez at plus 300. So there you go. Hey man, you might have some easy parlays on the on that matchroom card though. Just real quick, going back on that matchroom joint on FanDuel, you might have some easy parlays because you're gonna have Omari Jones and Zakeem Moses that are like highly favored in their bouts. Like they got Omari Jones at minus 8,000. Like that's insane. And they got Zakeem Moses at plus 5,000. So I don't know, man. That might be an opportunity for some real action right there as far as like a parlay is where, you put in maybe $5, maybe $20, you know what I'm saying? And pick a couple, fights there on the matchroom card. You could, pick a couple fights on the ProBox card and, probably turn a little bit of a profit. You know what I mean? I'll probably have to, check the overall numbers on it, but, I'll see, what I get on that though. But, like I said, that part is for entertainment purposes only, as they say, for entertainment purposes only. All right. But back to the thing there with the ProBox card. With that, like I said, the Jordan White versus Jose Romero, Stephen Shaw versus Rafael Abdujori, William Foster III versus Brandon Benitez, and you're also going to have ProBox signee Francois Scarborough Jr. going up against Victor Lopez. They're able to secure a bout there for franchise. I talked with a franchise over at Hillcrest Gym. He said he was there getting ready there last week. So once they had secured that bout, they're like, hey, we ready to go here for Frankie Scarborough, and he's there at 9-0, going up against Victor Manuel Lopez, who has a record of 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And that one, I feel like it's going to be something where Frankie Scarborough is going to, show up and show out and everything like that. So you do have that as far as like that bout coming up. Also talk with Irvin Fuller III that has a bout against Roberto Cisneros on this card. I also talked with Jordan Rhodes. There's part of the No Excuse Gym. He's going up against Garen Giagan. You're also going to have Ben Johnson. That's from the No Excuse Gym going up against. They got Brandon Mendoza there on this for him, coming up. So you got that. You got Shaquille Daly that's on this thing. You got Dwayne Holmes Jr. that's on the card. You got the body snatcher David Whitmire that's on the card. Also Eric Hernandez from the Hillcrest Gym that's on this card as well. So that's a number of fights. What I got, man. Even Larry Richo is on this card too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He got 13 fights scheduled. 13 fights scheduled on this card. That's huge. That's huge. You know what I mean? To have that type of a card there for No Excuse Promotions along with ProBox there to televise the fight. So that's gonna be big. So it's gonna be a lot of action there on Saturday night over at the Maryland Live Casino. Like I said, your tickets available at access.com there for that one, right? And I also mentioned that there's going to be more action that's going to be in Toledo, Ohio. I talked with, as they say, my supposed cousin, Albert Bell, a couple months ago when they recently announced that he was going to headline a fight card in his hometown of Toledo. Now they, locked it up. He's going to be there against Josek Ruiz and that's going to headline the bout. Where it's supposed to be a pulse boxing or whatnot. So he's going to be trying to get to 27-0. Of course, he was like a highly ranked contender there in the super featherweight division, but could not secure a big type bout within that division. Of course, it was a whole thing about him, potentially fighting for, the world title or whatnot, or at least fighting for an interim title. And the WBO wouldn't allow him to fight for an interim title. So, he just said like, well, I have to see about seeing if I could just do something in another division. So that's what he's doing here, campaigning here at lightweight, now going up against José Ruiz. So that's going to be a headlining bout there on that card. And you're also going to have Adele Mason on that card as well. Yes, from the Mason brothers. Yeah, we just seen what happened with Abdullah Mason on his 21st birthday. He was able to get a stoppage victory over in Las Vegas. Now you're going to have Adele Mason that's going to be in action this Saturday, where he's going to aim to go 2-0 in his pro career. So that's another thing to watch out for there. You're going to have James Evans. Who's that dude from Good Time? No, I was just playing. But you're going to have, like I said, a number of fights here that's going to be on there through Pulse Boxing. You could look up Pulse Boxing, I think, on social media for more information on that fight card. Or you could go on the social media pages for Prince Albert Bell there for that fight card, right? So that's a lot of action just in itself for April 12th, right? Yeah, there was supposed to be another fight card in Albuquerque, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I talked about this on, the thing there with the Boxing Source podcast, last time. You were supposed to have Brian Mendoza on the card. You were supposed to have, Fernando Vargas Jr. on the card. You're supposed to have, a few other notable fighters on the card there. Shane Mosley Jr. was scheduled to be on the card. You're supposed to have Rampage Jackson. What was it? Supposed to be Rampage Jackson versus who was it? Man, I forgot already. But hey, it is what it is because according to a number of people that were supposed to be involved in the card, that particular fight card has been canceled. Let me see here if I could get the screenshot, right? Because I posted it, I posted it here on the Twitter account. Okay, all right, here it goes. Let me see here. All right, bet. So let's see if I could go ahead and share it for y'all here real quick. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, after seeing what I saw from Brian Mendoza, it says the fight card at the Pit Albuquerque, that's where the University of New Mexico is, said it was canceled. As I mentioned there, Brian Mendoza, Shane Mosley Jr., and Fernando Vargas Jr. were among those who were scheduled to fight there. As it says, the signature punch promotions card for April 12th has been canceled. Tickets have been refunded too. Your card if you went ahead and purchased the thing ahead of time. You feel me? So that ended up being the thing there for that fight card that was scheduled to be in Albuquerque. So all of those fighters that were slated to be on that card, well, it's not gonna happen. So, and like I said, you can go on thing there for Brian Mendoza's IG. You could go on Fernando Vargas Jr.'s IG, and you can see there where they say, "Hey, the fight's been canceled." So that's what it got on that. So that's what it is. But that's mainly the action that you're going to be looking forward to on April 12th. A lot of fights still, look ahead to. Like I said, on the zone, you got the thing on Pulse TV, ProBox. You'll have their fights going on there. So there's definitely that. That's what I had as far as what is upcoming. A lot of action still left to go here within the next couple of weeks that we're definitely looking forward to. We had a couple of announcements when it came to most valuable promotions, as they had the press conference for, of course, the third bout, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So, with that, they were able to also introduce that they had, signed, more fighters there to be under most valuable promotions, right? So earlier this morning, they had sent out the notification that they signed unified super bantamweight champion Ellie Scottney, right? They also signed IBF bantamweight champion Sharetta Metcalf, and also the WBA interim champion in Jennifer Miranda, and also undefeated featherweight Elizabeth Oshoba, right? So that's 4 more fighters that they have there under most valuable promotions. Of course, they had the earlier signing there with Alicia Baumgartner to be added on to most valuable promotions. And then soon after that, they had this as far as like being part of the card coming up July 11th on Netflix. You're going to have Ellie Scottney facing WBC champion Yamileth Mercado, right? So you're going to unify. It's going to be another unification bout there in the super bantamweight division, right? You're also, going to have Dina Thorslund facing Sharetta Metcalf. Both of them are signed to MVP. So MVP doing their thing there as far as like for women's boxing. Of course, they're with Amanda Serrano being their ambassador for women's boxing as she signed a lifetime contract with MVP. So that's why you have this whole thing set up, like I said, with Netflix and the all women's fight card for July 11th. I mentioned those 2 fights. You're going to also have Tam Thibault, almost tripped there with that name, going up against Mary Casamassa, right? And they were all there at the press conference. That was just, a couple of hours ago. You know what I mean? So that shows you like how much they're doing there as far as like women's boxing for most valuable promotions. So that's definitely a good step there for the sport of women's boxing. And I've seen something on social media floating around about maybe another person or another fighter there in women's boxing that could potentially be considered to be part of most valuable promotions, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And y'all know who the fighter I'm talking about. Okay, so that ain't gonna happen. But for the time being, the fight card that they have set up for July 11th is looking really good out there for most valuable promotions. I mean, so you do have that. What else is out there for, what's the, kind of like tackle, I would say. I didn't necessarily get to watch all of the thing there with all the smoke with, of course, International Boxing Hall of Famer Andre Ward and the WBA Super Featherweight Champion Lamont Rhodes Jr. Only caught snippets of it, and a couple of things that, Lamont Rhodes Jr. said. My thing is, one, of course, he's still, kind of like upset about, the whole thing with the New York State Athletic Commission and the decision that they made. But it pretty much was, mainly what some of us have been talking about. It couldn't necessarily, go full scale and say that they could rule it a knockdown because, one, it was in the 9th round, and 2, with it being in the 9th round, who knows what else would have been going on for the rest of that fight. So they couldn't go ahead and, reverse that draw to being a win in favor of Lamont Rhodes Jr. So that's number one. Number 2, the other thing that I caught on there, at least from what I was able to watch, was one thing that Lamont Rhodes Jr. didn't quite notice during the fight. And they were showing a clip of when they were in close quarters, and like it looked like Tank leaned over and tried to pull a Mike Tyson He's saying that he tried to pull a Mike Tyson on Lamont Roach Jr. That's bad, interesting. But I mean, that's one thing, right? Other thing though, for me, is they wouldn't necessarily fully commit to saying that the rematch is pretty much locked in and locked down. Going from a conversation that I had with Lamont Roach Sr., and this was from last week, that they didn't really have anything yet. But like I said before, the thing with TGB Promotions, they had the reservation locked down, the T-Mobile Arena for June 21st. So unless anything else happens otherwise, June 21st, y'all. June 21st. Okay. So that's the thing that I'm looking forward to, because we already had the announcement of the May 31st card, right? That's going to feature Caleb Plant there against Jose Mercedes, and you're going to have Jamal Charlo there against Thomas Cornflake Lamonda. So if you can have that announcement that happened, last week, and we ain't going to get this announcement for what's going to happen potentially for June 21st until probably the following week or the week after. We're still, like a good ways out, so to speak, when it comes to like a little 8-week time period. It was still a little bit of ways from that. So I wouldn't necessarily get too, antsy about all of that. You feel me? So there's that. So that being said, that's mostly what I got for that. The whole thing of the WBC is the WBC. All right. You got the whole thing with Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda. That's one side. You got what was going on with Dimitri Bivol and David Benavidez. Okay. First with the Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda ordeal. William Zepeda has been like the guy that's been at the top of the WBC rankings for some time. Had the thing there with the interim title or whatnot, right? So my thing is like, why didn't he go ahead and activate the thing there for the mandatory when he's been like that for a little bit for some time, right? He's been the interim champion since January of last year. So especially after he had about the same day that Shakur Stevenson had about in July, when Shakur Stevenson fought Artem Harutyunyan there at the Prudential Center in Newark last July. William Zepeda had a fight there that same night. Actually, he stopped his opponent there, pretty much had short work, while Shakur Stevenson had that 12-round thing that he had there against Artem Harutyunyan. So he's been the interim champion for a while now. It's just that they never really activated the mandatory until now. And the whole thing is, what has happened is that Shakur Stevenson, I guess, was expected that since this is a mandatory, that I could get a certain amount of money. Look at what I got for the fight on February 22nd. So I expect about that same thing. Well, Turkey Al-Sheikh said, "Oh, slow your roll, bro. Slow your roll. We can't necessarily do that right now." So that kind of like had Shakur Stevenson in a little bit of a fit. So you had a whole thing there with William Zepeda and particularly Oscar De La Hoya talking about, now it's looking like you'll want to fight. And Shakur Stevenson was like, no, hold on. No, that ain't what I'm saying. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, we could work something out. You know what I mean? We could work something out. So over the past few days, they've been trying to do what it is to try to do it. And now he said, what is it, from a couple of days ago, we and my team, did this because we want to fight. Now stop lying and crying. Let me see if I can share that particular tweet, right? Here we go, right? So now he's saying, stop lying and crying and make it happen. William Zepeda, Oscar De La Hoya, but y'all like playing dirty. Well, I'm down to fight. Okay. But like I said, y'all got up to a certain point for y'all to go ahead and negotiate this thing. And if y'all don't get anything, if y'all get it done by a certain time, then it's going to go to purse bid. And it's from what I've been seeing, if they had the split there, like I said, for an interim champion in Zepeda is different than if Zepeda was just a number one contender. He's not a number one contender. He's an interim WBC champion. So it's completely different. You know what I mean? The split would be completely different, you know? So he would have to go ahead and have a 55-45 split unless the WBC decides otherwise. You know, Stevenson's team, according to reports, pushed for a 70-30 split. I guess that, you know, is due to how much money he was getting for, you know, fighting on Top Rank, and then how much he got, you know, for his fight against Josh Padley. But, you know, like I said, it's up to the WBC if they want to go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? Yo, Smack, what's up? What's good with you? You know what I mean? What's good? You feel me? You always talk about this thing here with Shakur Stevenson. You know, like I said, after he finds out that, hey, maybe that Turkey Al-Ashike willing to pay like a $5 million or pretty much around that range for that fight, now, hey, you might have a little bit of an issue. It said, yeah, Shakur got a big bag for fighting an electrician, not the fight we wanted, so make the fight happen, even things out. Yeah. You know, something might happen there with Shakur Stevenson that could be, I guess, not good for some. That $5 million pay, even though it was originally for fighting Floyd Schofield Jr., still ended up fighting Josh Padley. That kind of really screwed up the value of Shakur Stevenson. Now he's going to feel like he is kind of worth around that range or not that much less than that. And we kind of like talked about this earlier this week. He's almost at the point where he's like a Devin Haney, where he gets a fairly high guarantee, but the returns aren't, you know, as much as you know, people would expect. So with that being said, if you got it to the point where Turkey Al-Ashike isn't going to pay, you know, Shakur Stevenson what he may be asking for, and if they can't work out a deal, at least initially here with William Zepeda, you can end up having this as a purse bid. Now, if it ends up being a purse bid, hey, anything goes. Anybody can bid, anybody can put in their number, and that's that. Now, what happens if you do go to purse bid and a few promoters or organizers try to place their bids for it? And then what if it's a lot less than what Shakur Stevenson is looking for? Will he do the same thing that Devin Haney did when Devin Haney was in the middle of a purse bid with Sandor Martin? Will he end up relinquishing that WBC title and moving on? We'll see. But hopefully they could work something out. I mean, they got some time. I mean, the purse bid isn't until May. Like, you still got another few weeks until that purse bid takes place. So, you know, maybe they could work something out then, or, you know, maybe they could ask for an extension for that purse bid thing or whatever. But for Shakur Stevenson, at least right now, you got to see if they could do something, because it looks like Turkey Al-Ashike is not necessarily interested in putting a contribution towards that fight taking place, even though, you know, he's you know, been involved with Shakur Stevenson fight. He's also, you know, been involved in a William Zepeda fight, as you know, William Zepeda, his first bout against Tevin Farmer was in Riyadh. So I don't know. Maybe if it's in Riyadh, then maybe they could have something. But outside of that, good luck making that fight. Good luck making that fight, buddy. Good luck. All right. So there's that. Now on the other side, light heavyweight division. Interim champion was David Benavidez. Full champion is Dimitri Bivol. Of course, Dimitri Bivol defeated Artur Beterbiev by decision to become the new undisputed champion on February 22nd. David Benavidez was there in attendance. And the thing with David Benavidez, he was there. He's like, go here to see what's going on and see what's going on, the situation, who's going to win. And they have if Bivol wins, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a third fight. Well, Bivol won. And pretty much like everybody knew that there was going to be a third fight. But even with that being said, they went ahead and activated that mandatory. And, pretty much the instant that the mandatory was activated, Sergey Sheik said, hey, you know what? Yeah, Dimitri Bivol, you might not want to consider going for that fight against David Benavidez. You see how much you got paid for that second bout against Beterbiev? We got this third fight here for you. You know how much you can get paid for that? See what you can get over there for fighting Benavidez. Well, looks like they, tried the waters a little bit and, came to the conclusion that, hey, if they say it's $8 million, hey, as far as I know, this new math or fuzzy math or whatever it is, let me see, is $8 million more than $10 million? Okay. So that's pretty much what it boils down to. The third fight against Artur Beterbiev, you get more money than fighting David Benavidez at this time. So he said, you know what? Y'all can go ahead and have that WBC belt. You know what I mean? Hold up. Word, they announced it. Who announced it? Because I gotta see that for sure. You know what I mean? Because I did talk with a representative of Top Rank. So yeah. So that's the thing on that, right? You got to hit me up as far as like where that came from, because that had to have been made within the past couple of hours. Because I talked with a representative of Top Rank this morning, and that was after what Carl Moretti said. So I don't know. Maybe Carl Moretti was able to get back to De Los Santos' team. You know what I mean? So we'll see on that. I might, because Carl Moretti, he was making posts, bro. He was making posts for sure. So I'll see about that. You know what I mean? Because y'all know I was really hoping for that fight to be official. You feel me? So let's see. I'll go to his post too, what he was saying too, right? So I'll go to that in a bit. But before that, I'll go back. Sharky would say that he wanted Bivol versus Beterbiev third fight, so Bivol had no choice. Yeah, he had no choice. Like I said, man, I mean, 10 million, 8 million, 10, 8, come on. You know what I mean? So with that being said, what's next for David? Who could he fight if not Bivol? All right, let's go to the rankings there for the light heavyweight division. They have recently, updated the first part of their page, right? Let's see here what I got. Yeah, WBC light heavyweight. You see there, they, at least they changed the top part of that page there. They got David Benavidez there as your full champion now. Okay. They hadn't necessarily updated the rankings for the month because it still says like March 8th. So they still have Beterbiev there at number 1, David Burrell there at number 2. And of course, Benavidez already fought David Burrell on February 1st, Las Vegas. You have Albert Ramirez at number 3. You have Alexander Gavasik at number 4, who, of course, David Benavidez fought last June in Las Vegas. Okay. Joshua Buatsi, Conor Wallace. Some people say maybe it could be Callum Smith, but I'm looking at Albert Ramirez there at number 3. There, who's they're I think undefeated as an opponent there for David Benavidez. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Benavidez, right? Here's the thing. With Benavidez, now he's the full WBC champion, right? Now he has like a different, pay scale or pay level. The numbers for him versus David Burrell were, pretty good. Sales are pretty good or whatnot. So now, here's a question. How much is his pay going to be now at this point? His past 3 bouts have been pay-per-view bouts. The fight with Caleb Plant, the fight with Demetrius Andrade. Well, he was, as far as like headliner, right? Then he was a co-feature there for, Tank Davis versus Frank Martin last year. But then now, he's here going into would be potentially a second bout of the year. Of course, as I mentioned, February 1st, he had the bout there against David Burrell Jr. So now, with him being a full WBC champ, what does that do as far as like his overall, what I'd say, attractiveness or something like that? Like, okay, now how are you going to put him out there on Amazon Prime pay-per-view going up against his next opponent, whether it's going to be like against Albert Ramirez or against maybe, Anthony Yard was brought up by some people. He's already fought Ronald Gavril, so it can't be him. But that's the thing, though. He's a full champion. He's had a few bouts here that's on the pay-per-view, and once you hit that point, you can't really go back. You can't really go back down. You know what I mean? So now it's like, where are you going to place David Benavidez on the schedule to go ahead and have that fight or have his next fight take place where it's going to be pretty good? Yeah, so it's like you said there with the question. So who going to sell? I don't know. Like I said, I think the most likely candidate right now that is showing is Albert Ramirez. I'm going to see about what his schedule is looking like right now. Let's see here. I got him Venezuela. He's there at 20-0 with 17 wins by way of knockout. His last bout was on February 6th in Montreal. So, hey, maybe you could go ahead and have that bout between Benavidez and Albert Ramirez. But is it going to be something there where they say, hey, this is a pay-per-view bout? We'll see. He says, doesn't seem like a headliner until he fights like a Beterbiev or Bivol. Well, I mean, it may sound like that, but once you're at the point where you do have you had those couple of bouts where you headlined and you were pay-per-view, you can't necessarily go back down unless if you're under maybe a Tank Davis or something. You know what I mean? So I'd say maybe August. You could see David Benavidez headlining about in August. And, hey, it's going to end up being a pay-per-view because you had, like I said, you had a couple of pay-per-views there with David Benavidez. He has like a minimum purse. So that's how it's going to work out. He's going to be a pay-per-view guy from this point forward. And he'll just wait it out, see what happens here in this third fight between Bivol and Beterbiev. That's some are saying it's going to be for October, and after that, yeah, maybe you could go ahead and wait for Dimitri Bivol, or depends on what happens though. Because if Bivol wins again, and something happens in September, then next year you could have Turkey Al Sheikh still have this little bit of an energy towards the WBC, and you could have Dimitri Bivol go up against Canelo Alvarez next year. Ooh. Like I said, the numbers wouldn't be there pay-per-view wise there for David Benavidez. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. Now, I mean, like I said, there's nowhere else for Benavidez to go at this point from a business perspective. So he'll have to do what he has to do in that sense. So that's what they got. With that being said, that's the overall situation there with David Benavidez. Not sure where it was said this thing here for Davis versus De Los Santos. Haven't necessarily got an email yet, from Top Rank about it. Hopefully I get an email from Top Rank about it. Because listen, I'm ready. I am ready. I'm ready for being at Norfolk on June 7th, or whatever it's slated to be, right? So yeah. But going off of that, right? That Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin De Los Santos, was talking about, this fight's gonna happen. They got things, pretty much set. Be ready for June 7th. It's gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, it said that the fight isn't necessarily taking place because supposedly Edwin De Los Santos was offered $200K. So let me see here if I can share this, right? All right, so it should be here. Of course, shout out to Dan Moxley, man. But it says, they offered Edwin De Los Santos $200K. It's like, nah, that ain't right. So Edwin, it looks like Edwin's account or whatever. It said that that's what they're offering. But Carl Moretti there, who's the VP of operations at Top Rank, if I got that right, it said no. We offered twice that much to Edwin De Los Santos. We offered twice that much, and at the time they turned it down. So now it looks like they're trying to see about renegotiating or whatever it is to try to secure that bout. So. With that being said, hopefully they did kind of like work out a deal for that to happen. You know what I mean? Let's see here, because I wanted to see if they, actually had made that go ahead and take place. So, let's see. I wanted to see how I could do this here. All right, Keyshawn. Yeah, versus Edwin. How about that? Let me see if I can find that. And let's see if here we got some. Yeah, okay. So Cap. See. I want to see who the sources are that told Mike Cappinger. Oh, did I say that? Oops, my bad. I meant Mike Coppinger. Mike Coppinger, guys. Mike Coppinger. Okay? Because like I said, a couple of people I talked with within Top Rank, they would kind of know if something's going on or not. And like I said, from this morning, at that time, that source said they're still working on if they could try to work something out. And what I was told at that time was another opponent was considered, and that opponent was Justin Paldo. Paulo, was, had a great performance in his last bout on ProBox TV. Yes, Justin Paulo is one of the fighters that is trained by Ronnie Shields, who we talk with every Tuesday. But that source said that Paulo's team, didn't necessarily get back with him or whatever it is, as far as like trying to see if they could work something at that time. So I guess what has happened here so far is that they revisited potential offer there for Edwin De Los Santos, and they went ahead and accepted it. So props on them to go ahead and secure that. And like I said, Norfolk, Scoperita once again. I mean, if they go ahead, open things up for Scoperita there, I think it's going to be another sellout. Also, the thing was, I said, hey, they were going to have a fight on June 7th in Scoperita, regardless of who the opponent was. Because not only you were going to have Keyshawn Davis on there, you're going to have Keon Davis on there. And earlier today, Keon Davis on his Instagram said that he's going to be fighting in May and on June 7th. So he's going to have 2 fights within 1 month. That's what he said. So I was saying, like, hey, you're going to have DB3 featured on the card there, June 7th of Scoperita anyway. So regardless of who they would find there for Keyshawn Davis, they were going to have a fight card there at Scoperita on June 7th. That was pretty much a lock. It was just a matter of who the opponent was going to be for Keyshawn Davis. So that's the thing there. You know what though? I really feel like it's I really feel like this is something where I think they may have tried to be, something where they were first. But hey, they have contacts with representatives within Top Rank also. So they, kind of like, hey, maybe said, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and put this out there, and say that Ring has that first. But, as I was mentioning, for the past couple of weeks with the conversation that De Los Santos had with, with Mill City Boxing there, where they said they were trying to, get that deal worked on. And, from a couple of sources that I was talking to over the past couple of weeks that they were trying to lock that down, I was like, hey, let me go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and make a trip to Norfolk on June 7th. So, hey, they make it official there for Top Rank. I'm cool with it. Let's do it. Let's make that trip. So that's what they got. That's your WBO lightweight championship defense there for Keyshawn Davis. His first defense, of course, after winning it from Dennis Barincic on February 14th at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So that's what you got. So for me, that is mostly what I have here for this version of the Midweek Report. Big thanks for everyone that's listening live. And also, if you can, hit the like button, hit the share button. If you can, here for people to go ahead and enjoy this Midweek Report. And for those that are, watching the replay, leave a comment to react to the stories that I was talking about, the previews I was going over, who do y'all picking to win, and the number of these fights coming up. Just like I said before, I got Boots-Stanionis defeating Eimantas Stanionis there in that unification bout. Okay. For the ProBox card, I feel like there's a lot of feature fights. The number of the A-side fighters are going to win that. So that's what I got. But with that being said, that is what I have here for this version of the Midweek Report. Hopefully we'll have something here coming up for Friday. See if I can secure something there for the DMV Boxing Network show. We're supposed to have another episode of that, but I have to figure out the schedule for it. Okay. So y'all look out for that. All right. That's what I have. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.